Hello and welcome. For China Solved, I'm Andrew Hubert, and this is the China Negotiator. So you're in a trade war. Episode 31, Beware the Quick Win. Detente is in the details. 3 takeaways. A quick declaration of victory is possible in the near future. There are dangers to detente, or a reduction of hostilities, however. It was always kind of a non-issue anyway. Let's look at each of those in a little bit more detail. A quick fix is possible. There could be a quick fix. Don't be surprised if there is a bolt from the blue solution in the next few weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a declaration of victory on someone's part. Washington has already been dropping hints and talking about drafting a document. They'll probably frame it as a grand treaty, but they want out of this in the U.S., I believe. Washington is right now driven by instincts and by the crowd, and this whole conflict between the U.S. and China turned out to be surprisingly unsexy and surprisingly drawn out. Now, I know, I'm one of those guys that said 2 years, and I stand by that, but now the situation has changed. What I was referring to was this was going to be prolonged. Well, I think now it's a prolonged national competition. It probably always was, but the October 4th Vice President Pence speech pretty much sealed it. We are involved in a long-term strategic competition, and the quick fix I'm talking about is only going to cover tariffs. This is going to be more do-over than grand strategy. The dangers of detente. I think it would be possible to unwind the tariff situation pretty quickly, but that is going to not solve all of our problems. As a matter of fact, it just sort of ratchets things up to the next level. You can think of this as dodging a bullet in a house that's on fire. Once those tariffs get lifted, we will have dodged a bullet, but the building is still burning. If we all just walk away now, China is going to be viewed as the winner, and that's probably not going to happen. So the U.S. is going to hold out until it can declare victory, and there are that situation is just ripe for conflict and disaster. And even if we do unwind successfully, this is a situation where we delivered a pretty stern warning, and China received that warning. And from here on in, it's on. This competition over technology is going to be part of our lives forever now. China has already been setting up its own labs and schools and research centers, but a lot of the work has been party-driven and kind of nonsensical. But now that's going to change. China is going to a war footing, while the U.S. is moving to settle its next score with Iran, I think, is next up. And it was kind of a non-issue anyway. I know that's a weird thing to say about what I just described as a clash of cultures that's going to last for a generation. But what I mean is there was no good strategic reason to force this kind of conflict at this time. As a matter of fact, we had been heading in the opposite direction. We had dropped out of the TPP, which was set up as a force to act as a counter to China's economic strength in the region. And we were relying on China's help with the North Korea situation. And we'll expect China's help on the Iran situation. Beyond that, they were our factory, our sweatshop, and quite frankly, our garbage dump. And now that's pretty much ruined. We had no plan B for a lot of the stuff that would eventually be covered by tariffs and sanctions if it moved a step further. You can't bluster against tectonics. And what we're seeing here is just some giant forces of history button up against each other. And all we did here was to rally the troops on the China side. Somehow, Xi Jinping has become the Che Guevara of international free trade. And I don't get that. Final word. I wouldn't be surprised to see the tariffs lifted in the near future, but that's just going to be dodging a bullet in a burning building. Quick fixes usually don't last. And beware of the mission accomplished, let's go home mentality. If you're on the front lines negotiating in China, you're going to be in more competitive situations with Chinese counterparts than you have been for the last few years. I think things are going to get a little bit frostier on the ground. Thanks very much for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take the online course from China Solved on Udemy. And if you're concerned about conflict in China, and you should be, pick up my book, The Fragile Bridge, Conflict Management in Chinese Business.